So that's that, ladies and gentlemen, for the 2017 NBA season. Golden State Warriors win 129-120 over the Cleveland Cavaliers to win the 2017 NBA championship 4-1. Kevin Durant wins the MVP. Let's get into this game. What happened, why it happened, and what do we think, how do we feel, what's going to happen moving forward.
DreAllDay.com.
Let's go to everybody. Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Y'all saw the game. Golden State Warriors finish off the Cavs with a 129-120 win in Oracle Arena to win the 2017 title. KD gets his first championship. The reason why he left OKC to sign with Golden State. LeBron falls to 3-5 in the finals. Let's talk about all of that. First, let's go over the actual game. Let's talk about the losing side, Cleveland Cavaliers. Well, they finally got a good showing again from J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith with a couple good games to end this series. I mean, obviously too little, too late. But J.R. ends up with 25 points on 9 of 11 shooting, 7 from 8 from downtown. I guess all J.R. Smith does is shoot threes now, but he's making them, so I guess that's a good thing. Kyrie Irving, 26 points. He was 9 for 22. Made all his free throws, made 1 3. Tristan Thompson had finally another good game. 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Did some offensive board work with 3 offensive rebounds. Got 5 offensive boards from his other 2 fellow front court players. Kevin Love did not have a good game. For this to be the last game of the season for him is not good for Kevin Love. It's not a good omen for what's going to happen in this offseason, which we get to in a minute. Only 6 points. Did get 10 rebounds. Only 2 of 8 from the floor. Kevin Love was kind of like a ghost to me for the most part in this game. Kevin Love was not much of a factor offensively for the Cavs. And I'd rather have Kevin Love be a factor because he's going to be more engaged overall. He's just a better overall player than even a guy like J.R. Smith being a factor. J.R. made a couple. He made that and one late in the game. He made a big shot right before halftime. J.R. Smith is hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get from him. You got a good game from him tonight. You got some terrible games from him the first 2 games of the series. So I wouldn't depend on J.R. Smith. I'd rather depend on Kevin Love. But Kevin Love didn't bring much to the table tonight. We do know that. And LeBron James, I mean, what more we got to say about LeBron? 41 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, a block, 19 for 30 from the floor, 2 for 5 from deep, 11 total rebounds, only 3 turnovers. I mean, LeBron James is LeBron James. We ain't got to keep talking about LeBron. The rest of the Cavaliers roster, they didn't get much from anybody else on this team. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right game here. From the rest of their roster, they didn't get much. Darren Williams played 12 minutes, didn't score. Shumpert, 3 minutes, didn't score. Corver made 1 3-pointer. Richard Jefferson had 4 points, 7 points total off of their bench for the Cavs tonight. Their starters basically did everything that they could, but their starters just didn't have enough to go up against this Golden State Warriors team. Let's talk about that team, now the 2017 champions. First of all, let's look off the bench. Actually, let's look at the starters first. Stephen Curry, 34 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists. He had a Steph Curry game. This is the kind of games he was putting up when he won that MVP trophy last season, and he did his thing tonight. Even though he only made 2 of 9 from downtown, he got to the line 15 times and was 10 of 20 from the floor overall. So he made damn near every shot he took inside the arc, even though he wasn't making everything outside of the arc. Klay Thompson only 11 points, 4 of 13 from the floor, but he had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, block, and Klay Thompson played some really good defense. I said this before the series started. He's a great defender on a guy like Kyrie because he's big enough, strong enough, and just quick enough to stay in front of a dude like Kyrie. And he's strong enough and tall enough to guard a guy like LeBron in a pinch and a guy like Kevin Love who can't jump. Just like Klay's not that much of an athlete. Klay Thompson's defense, his ability to guard anybody and know from that point guard position all the way up to, you can even say, the power forward position, makes him valuable even when or if he's not knocking down shots or not even getting the ball that much, as he didn't knock down many shots in this series as a whole. Pachulia didn't do much, only 9 minutes, no points, 3 rebounds. I didn't think we'd see even that much of him in this series, and the Warriors obviously figured that out, got him out of the lineup and put their more wing-oriented guys in, which we'll get to in a minute. Draymond Green, another normal Draymond game, 10 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. He was only 3 of 10 from the floor, was 2 of 5 from 3, but he had 3 offensive rebounds, and he was on the court for 44 minutes. He's the guy, he's the straw that stirs this drink. He anchors their defense, makes sure everybody's in the right place, and makes sure everybody plays hard. That's what he did all series, and this is the type of games he had that makes him an all-star. And Mr. Kevin Durant, who was Finals MVP, gets his first championship, 39 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 14 of 20 from the floor, 5 of 8 from deep, 6 of 6 from the line. Kevin Durant was all over the place scoring-wise, did what Kevin Durant does, and he definitely deserved that MVP trophy because he was the story of this finals. That's what everybody was talking about. Is KD, can he go up against LeBron? Is KD finally going to get his title? Did he make the right move coming to Golden State? Is KD better than LeBron James? We'll get into that in a minute. But then off the bench, looking at the Golden State Warriors bench, they got 4 points out of David West and 3 rebounds, 6 points from McCall, 5 points from Sean Livingston. All of those guys played 10 or 11 minutes, and they got those points out of it. That's 15 points from guys in a total of 30 minutes. So that's pretty good numbers. It's like a guy plays 40 minutes and scores 20 points. That's what they got from those 3 guys off the bench. And then Andre Iguodala, 38 minutes, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 9 of 14 from the floor. He was asked to knock down some shots tonight. The Cavs found Iguodala being the open guy in some situations. He caught a couple backdoor alley-oops, some plays in the paint, but also some outside shots he was able to knock down. And he's that guy. He's one of those bench guys, him along with Sean Livingston, in my opinion. I talked about this in the series preview. The kind of guys who can come off the bench and make the right plays, knock down the right shots, will never hurt you by being in the game. They can actually come in there and take the place of one of those all-star starters, not be as good as them, but are not going to hurt you, and they will do some positive things in the game. Iguodala did that again, as he did 2 years ago in the finals when he won MVP, and he goes and drops 20 in the decisive championship game. So let's talk about just overall with this entire series. I think the consensus for everybody, even the people who are Cavs fans or people who pick the Cavs like myself, we all knew the Golden State Warriors had an advantage because they took the team they had last year and essentially, if we just talk essential players, they swapped out a Harrison Barnes and put in a Kevin Durant, which is a major upgrade. Kevin Durant's one of the top 5 players in the world, whereas the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't really do much of anything. They lost their backup point guard, Matthew Dellavedova, who I think is better than the guys they had backing up Kyrie Irving, like Darren Williams now. Who else? They lost Timofey Mozgov, who didn't really play that much. And they basically brought back the same team that they had the year before. I don't think anybody on their team got worse. They picked up Kyle Korver, I guess you could say. I don't think anyone on the Cavs team got worse, but they also did not get better. If you look what the Warriors did, they went from Harrison Barnes to KD. We just want to say the main thing they did was go from Harrison to KD. What's the main thing that the Cavs did? They didn't do anything. They went from Dellavedova, who was a solid backup point guard, a guy who could be your starter if you needed him to be. They lost him and picked up Darren Williams, who was basically washed up and out of shape before the Cavs picked him up. And then he started looking like he had some signs of life within him. Definitely not an equal bargain. And Golden State's upgrade was much better than the Cavs, if you want to call it an upgrade. I say it was actually a downgrade. And in the long run, this is what happens. The Warriors get a 3-1 lead, and this time they finish it off in 5 games with no suspensions. So I know what's going to happen in this offseason. There's a couple storylines that's going to be talked about. There's 4 specific ones. If I can remember all 4 of them, I'm going to say them, and then we're going to go over each one. Number 1, what are the Cleveland Cavaliers going to do moving forward? What are they going to do with their team moving forward? Number 2, are the Golden State Warriors just this unbeatable juggernaut that's going to keep winning championships for the next 4 or 5 years while Steph Curry, KD, Clay, and Draymond are all still in their primes? The third question is, can anybody, third question is, so the first one was, what are the Cavs going to do with their roster? Second one is, are the Warriors just going to be an unbeatable team? The third one is Kevin Durant versus LeBron James. Is Kevin Durant actually better than LeBron now? Is LeBron still the best player even though he's 3-5 in the finals and he just lost to the Warriors 2 times in 3 years? Who's the better player between Kevin Durant and LeBron? Does Kevin Durant have a stake to claim as the best player in the league, even though he left OKC to go sign with a ready-made team that was already going to the finals 2 years in a row before he signed with them? And there might have been one more thing, but I can't remember what it was. So let's just talk about those 3. And if it comes to me, we'll talk about it. Number 1, what are the Cleveland Cavaliers going to do moving forward? I'm going to tell you what I think they're going to do, and what they should do is Kevin Love got to go. I like Kevin Love. I'm a fan of Kevin Love. He was actually on my fantasy team this past season. The dude will get you 20 points and 10 rebounds during the regular season, pretty much guaranteed when he's healthy. And playing on the team with LeBron and Kyrie, he didn't even get the ball as much as he would on damn near any other team in the NBA. Kevin Love is a solid player. He's an all-star player when he's getting the ball. In Cleveland, he wasn't even getting the ball that much and was still an all-star player, but I think he's got to go. I think the Cavs, looking at their roster, looking at what they have, remember 2 years ago when Kyrie was hobbled, he missed most of the conference finals against the Hawks 2 years ago. Kevin Love got injured in the first round against the Celtics 2 years ago when that mix up with Kelly Olynyk. LeBron took the rest of that team, no All-Stars, no one close to being an All-Star, and they steamrolled through the rest of the Eastern Conference without a full Kyrie and without Kevin Love at all, and they still went to the finals and won 2 games against that Golden State Warriors team. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron James, Kyrie, and Kevin Love all know the truth, which is this: LeBron James with 4 competent players can pretty much win the Eastern Conference as presently assembled. Therefore, they don't need a guy like Kevin Love. What they need to look at is not needing a guy like Kevin Love to get through the East or anything like that. They need to look at the Golden State Warriors, because if they're going to keep doing what they're doing and they keep that guy LeBron James in place, they got to figure out a way to compete with this Warriors team. And what they need is another athletic wing-type guy who can run the floor, get back and forth in transition, and match up with what the Warriors have. Because Kevin Love, he wasn't bad against Golden State, but he wasn't that good either. Imagine you replace a guy like Kevin Love with someone like, let's say, an athlete. Like, people talk about, well, what if you hadn't traded Andrew Wiggins? I wouldn't undo that trade because they won a championship with it. Or let's say somebody like a Paul George. You put Paul George in the place of a Kevin Love. Now you can put him on a KD. You can put him on you can switch him off to a Clay, or even onto a Draymond, or onto a Steph Curry. You need one of those versatile wing guys who kind of is like when we get into that positionless basketball, Kevin Love can't handle the ball, bringing the ball up the court, and there's certain guys he can't guard for any type of extended stretches. He doesn't have the athleticism, and the Cavs didn't have a single player on their roster who could guard Kevin Durant besides LeBron James, and that's a lot to put on one dude to guard one of the top scorers in the world and be the man offensively for your team. There's only so much you can ask of a guy in a 7-game series, especially when the other team can game plan around everything they see you got to do. They can just target LeBron James to try to wear him out and then see what anybody else can do, which is pretty much what the Warriors did this series. And LeBron put up the numbers, but there's only so much you can ask from him, while you got another guy, his opposite, putting up the same offensive numbers but doesn't have nearly the defensive responsibility. So it's a lot that the Cavs have to look at here. Well, I don't think it's a lot they got to look at. I think it's a lot they got to look at outside of their team as to who they can replace Kevin Love with, because they got to replace Kevin Love. Because right now, the reason I brought up the Eastern Conference is the Cavs don't need to compete to win the East. They're going to win the Eastern Conference. They're the best team in the East, and they got the best player in the world. They're going to keep winning the East regardless. If Kevin Love just sat out all season and they didn't make a move, they can still win the Eastern Conference with what they have left outside of Kevin Love. They got to face whoever comes out of that Western Conference, which is going to be the Golden State Warriors, and the only team that looked like they had a close shot, maybe a Houston Rockets, maybe a San Antonio Spurs if the Kawhi injury didn't happen. But the Cavs have to look at how they're going to beat one of those teams coming out of the West, because there's no team in the East as presently constructed. We don't know what's going to happen this offseason that can compete with the Cavs. So that's the first question. Second question that we got to answer is this Golden State Warriors team just unbeatable? Are they just going to keep winning championships over and over again? Is this just going to be unstoppable? Well, I listened to this guy named Bill Simmons. Some of y'all know Bill. He's a big Celtics fan, and he talked about how teams can have this great dynasty, and it seems like they're just going to keep winning title after title after title, and there's so many examples of it that they couldn't keep it together. The Kobe and Shaq Lakers of the early 2000s. Even the Jordan Bulls, they broke up because Jordan just decided he wanted to retire twice, when it seemed like they could have kept going on winning titles. And they're the Penny and Shaq Orlando Magic. Even though they didn't win the title, they went to the finals, and it seemed like they would just keep coming back, and they would eventually just take over the league. That didn't happen. So even though it may seem so easy right now because they have so much talent, maybe it seems like they can just dominate everybody right now, you never know what could happen in the future. You never know who can get injured. You never know who might leave as a free agent. You never know what other team might come up as a juggernaut that we're not seeing right now. You never know what's going to happen in the future. So I'm not going to say Golden State is just guaranteed to keep winning X number of titles. Every year they got to go out and earn it, because you never know. It could be one of their players landing on somebody's foot next year in the playoffs before they even get to the finals that could cost them the series the same way it did against the Spurs. So you never know what's going to happen with that. And third question was KD versus LeBron. I think that's going to be something talked about now. Paul Pierce, inexplicably, I don't know why Paul Pierce said that. I think Paul Pierce got caught up in the moment of being on TV, and he said, well, the league is transitioning from it being LeBron's era to the Kevin Durant era. I don't think that's actually true. I think Kevin Durant's been in the league for a pretty long time now. He was the man in OKC 5 years ago when they lost to the Heat in the finals, and LeBron was the man in Miami. LeBron's the man in Cleveland now. LeBron has taken his team to the finals 7 years in a row. So I don't know how the torch is possibly being passed to KD when LeBron still seems to be pretty damn good. The guy did he average a triple-double in the finals? I can't see how the torch is being passed to KD, on top of the fact that KD, we all know, left the team that just was up 3-1 against Golden State, blew a 3-1 lead, and then he went and signed with the team that beat him, which is something people are going to be debating forever, because for a superstar to go to the team and just beat him in the playoffs, that would be similar to LeBron going and signing with the Boston Celtics after he lost in 2010, where he didn't do that. So I can't see this being a torch being passed from LeBron to KD, on top of the fact that KD went and signed with the team that was already ready-made, already went to the finals 2 years in a row and had an MVP on it. LeBron didn't do the similar things, so people want to compare them to. And at the same time, KD is not asked to carry as much of a burden for his team as LeBron is on the Cleveland Cavs. LeBron carries it well. I'm not saying that as an excuse for LeBron, but to compare those two guys right now, it's hard to even compare them. It's kind of like an apples to oranges thing because of the situations that each of them are in on their respective teams. But we never know what could change this offseason, next offseason. You never know what could happen. It may seem like it's set in stone now, but usually things change that we don't see happen, and we can't predict the future. So that's all I got to say. I think I've said all I need to say about the NBA Finals. Steph Curry, a guy who willingly took a step backward to let KD get the shine, to let Iguodala do his thing, Draymond doing his thing, and he doesn't seem at all bothered by the fact that the spotlight's not on him, even though he is basically the franchise guy. Before they bring in a KD, he's basically the franchise guy on his team, even though he didn't give him the franchise money on his last deal. He's going to get it this summer, so he ain't got nothing to worry about. He's been gracious about that, and the fact that he's willing to do that with those 2 MVP trophies in his mantle, the fact that he's willing to do that is the reason why this team can do what they do. He's willing to step back and let KD get all the attention, as he's going to continue to get. Steph Curry is still going to get his attention, but let KD get attention, share the spotlight with him. You need a superstar who's willing to do that. That's the only way you could bring a guy like KD into a team like that. And that's the same reason, actually, I was hearing the story how Derrick Rose, remember Derrick Rose didn't even want to talk to Dwayne Wade or LeBron back in the summer of 2010 because he didn't want to pitch either of them to come to play for Chicago, because I guess Derrick had a little bit too much ego. And, I mean, we see how all that turned out, don't we? But anyway, that's all I got to say about the NBA Finals, about this 2017 season. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Y'all tell me if there's anything y'all want me to talk about over the off season. I don't really follow college ball, so it ain't much I can say about the draft. Unfortunately, I don't have much draft insight because I don't watch any of these guys in college, so I can't tell you who's going to do what. I'd rather just see what happens in the actual games. But anything y'all want me to talk about, let me know. I'll see what I can do. Well, I know what I can do, but if it's something that I can talk about, that I have some knowledge on, I'm qualified to speak on, let me know. I will speak on it. And that's it. I want to know what y'all think about the NBA Finals, about the KD versus LeBron matchup, the KD versus LeBron debate. It's not even a matchup. The debate that's going to happen on ESPN and everywhere on the internet now, not because it's a real debate, but because people who work for the media, they have to have something to talk about. There's no basketball games to talk about, so they got to talk about something. They're going to talk about LeBron versus KD. What do y'all think about that, given all the circumstances of what both guys have done in the past and how they got on the teams that they're on and winning, losing, and all that stuff? Are the Warriors this unbeatable juggernaut? And that's question number 2. So number 1 is KD, LeBron. Number 2, are the Warriors unbeatable? Number 3, what the hell are the Cavs going to do this offseason, if anything? Are they going to do something this offseason? And if they do something, what are they going to do? And why are they going to do it? And who are they going to do it with? Who are they going to get to come into the fold there? Because I believe they all can see the writing on the wall. The team that they have as presently constructed can't beat this Warriors team in a 7-game series. Not enough you would bet money on. You got to move Kevin Love out and get somebody in there. Who's that going to be? What? Or maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Y'all leave it down there in the comments. And that's it. You got something else to say? Let me know. I want to make more vids, so let me know what you want me to talk about. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com.